biggest issues that we hear about when we travel the state, and some of the things we're trying to do to address those, not surprisingly, it is the workforce shortage, the quantity of workers, and then, as our chief economist likes to say, when you have a numbers problem, you're going to have a skills gap issue. If you have a football team with 7 people, not everyone's going to have quarterback skills, and so we're trying to be as strategic as possible about, we kind of use the metaphor of casting a wider net. The areas that are being the most successful at attracting and retaining top talent prioritize collaboration between the public sector and the private sector. The ones that do it well consistently collaborate with their local EDC, with their workforce development board, with their tech college. As far as out-of-state recruitment, I think we'd love to get more folks in Wisconsin. We have a lot to offer, and I think we've partnered fairly well with some of our sister agencies, WEDC and Department of Veterans Affairs here in Wisconsin. We also have strategized with agencies like tourism that a lot of folks that will eventually move to Wisconsin have their first experience here as a tourist. And then our IT infrastructure at DWD, as far as our Job Center of Wisconsin. We're really active on social media, all those things that are relatively simple but I think effective. We look across the country for leadership on some of these issues. I think from what I've seen, we continue to be a leader in programs like apprenticeship. I think we are in the front half of the pack on reentry. I've seen other parts of the country probably do more to address some of the housing issues. Some areas have different industry clusters that have new or perhaps innovative apprenticeship programs or apprenticeship-like programs. So I think a lot of the things that we're working on, we feel like we're a leader. We continue to look for best practices outside the state. And as we travel throughout Wisconsin, there are things that we'll work with our partners on as far as barriers. We hear a lot about personal barriers to entering the workforce, things like criminal background. We hear about child care issues, and then some more systemic issues like transportation, housing. And so I think we're really grateful to have strong partners in our fellow agencies, as well as local EDCs and local business leaders that are willing to address some of these barriers.
You have to have the pipeline being filled, or you're going to have more trouble later. And of course, that's where we are now, is that we don't have enough people, and we have a growing economy here. We have a lot of great things going on. We have been able to grow our population a little bit, but we still have that shortage of workers. I think we have a special situation here in Eau Claire. We have a collaborative spirit. People work together. They really try hard to pull their own weight and to come together to find solutions. People feel good about being here. They're creating new opportunities. They're trying things. They're opening businesses. So those are some of the positive things that have been happening. We've gotten a lot of national and statewide publicity about Eau Claire being a great place to live. So we've actually had employers tell us they've had an increase in outside applications because people hear about Eau Claire, or they come to a music festival here and they say, hey, I would like to live there. Everybody has to change, right? So we have to change education, government has to change, employers themselves have to change. And now it's a seller's market if you're a worker. So we all have to think differently. We have to look at the ways we interact with our employees. We have to look at the flexibility that we offer. We have to understand what it is the employee is looking for when we bring them on board. They also have to understand what the job is. There's still a lot of things that can be done collectively, whether it's through government, whether it's through education and business working together, that can move the needle and make it much better, however. So one of the bigger challenges is a small business, one that are having trouble finding enough people. They're willing to change, but they have so many balls in the air to run a business that they need help. Perhaps the question is, how can you be a little bit more nimble? How can we move forward? How can we, recognizing the need, especially in the public sector, of the responsibilities you have to be transparent and open and give everyone a chance, what can we do to get the solutions implemented a little bit more quickly? We have to come up with ideas. We have to take our part of it. We have to improve our best practices. In some cases, it is going to be a legislative remedy, and we have to be willing to talk to our legislators, talk to government departments, talk to chancellors and presidents of colleges about what can be done, and so that our voice is heard, so they do know that we need these things.
Workforce development is still just as relevant today as it was in the recession 10 years ago. It just looks a little bit different. The collaboration that we've seen between the private sector workforce boards and educational institutions, these solutions are really not done in a silo. Seems to be more of an approach to, the rising tide lifts all boats approach. So I am seeing more willingness to share best practices from employers out to other, whether it be HR resource groups or at chamber events. People are talking and really trying to support each other because this is a regional, statewide, national issue. From the employer side, the incumbent worker training and in-house training piece to promote retention has been a big increase for us. We've seen more companies, whether it be in-house training programs to partnering with workforce boards and training providers to deliver custom solutions. We're seeing more employers investing in their incumbent workforce to get them upskilled so they can move their entry-level workforce into higher paying jobs and open up opportunities for entry-level positions. The trend has been we're seeing less people completing those programs because they can leave and find a well-paying job in this historically low unemployment. And so our shift then becomes, how do we get those job seekers engaged to complete those credentials while maintaining their job? We know lifelong learning is really critical for those future jobs. AI, automation, and technology are really going to change the world of work. And so education and training is still just as vital. And so what we are happy to see is that the educational institutions have really responded by creating these shorter term programs, stackable credentials, and flexible programs in partnership with employers. So that way these job seekers and employees can get that training that they need and still maintain a job to pay for life's expenses. When I'm talking to employers, this is an issue that we see every day on the front lines. So this issue, we read about it in the paper, the labor shortage is here, but when you're experiencing it every day with employers that want to stay competitive, that want to grow their business here in Wisconsin, we have an issue that we need to help them address. And so talent attraction and retention continues to be the most requested service that employers need help with. And so that I don't think can be underscored enough. This issue is not specific to Wisconsin. We're not alone in this. And so when I talk to my peers across Wisconsin and I hear from other workforce boards across the country, these issues are common. And so there's a lot of research being done in new innovative ways at looking at education and trainings for how can we meet the needs of our current workforce into the future.